Listen, if you're watching this right now, chances are you've sent a text to a woman and sat there staring at your phone, wondering if you said the right thing. Maybe she replied with short answers. Maybe she left you on read. Or worse, maybe the conversation just died and you have no idea why. I get it. And here's the brutal truth most guys won't tell you. The problem isn't that women are complicated or playing games. The problem is that most men text like they're filling out a job application, and it kills attraction faster than anything else. What I'm about to share with you comes from Stoic philosophy. But don't worry, this isn't some ancient history lesson. These are 3 practical texting secrets that tap into timeless principles of human nature, the same principles that have worked for thousands of years. And when you apply them correctly, you'll notice something shift in how women respond to you. They'll text back faster, they'll engage more, they'll actually want to meet up. So forget everything you think you know about texting and pay attention, because these 3 secrets are going to change the game for you. Secret number 1, embrace the power of absence. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, understood something profound about human nature. He knew that value isn't created by constant availability, it's created by scarcity and presence when it matters. Now apply this to texting. Most guys make the same fatal mistake. They text too much, too often, with too little purpose. They send good morning texts, they ask how her day is going. They try to keep a constant conversation alive because they think that's what keeps her interested. Wrong. That's what makes you invisible. Here's what actually happens when you're always available. You become predictable. You become safe. You become the guy she knows she can reach anytime, which means you become the guy she doesn't think about when you're not there. Attraction doesn't grow in comfort and predictability. It grows in the space between interactions. It grows in anticipation. It grows when she wonders what you're doing, when she realizes she hasn't heard from you and actually notices your absence. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. This is about having a life that's interesting enough that you're not sitting around waiting to text her back immediately every single time. The Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. You can't control whether she likes you or how she feels, but you can control your own behavior, your own time, and your own value. When you text her, make it count. Have a reason. Be intentional. Then get back to your life. Go to the gym, work on your business, spend time with friends, build something. When you text from a place of abundance, from a life that's already full and interesting, that energy comes through. She feels it. And suddenly, your text becomes something she looks forward to instead of something she expects. Think about it this way. If she texts you and you respond in 30 seconds every single time, what does that communicate? It says you were waiting. It says you have nothing better to do. It says she's your priority, but you're not necessarily hers yet. But if you respond when it makes sense, when you're actually available and present, not immediately, but not days later either, you communicate something different. You communicate that you have a life, that you're selective with your attention, that your time has value. And here's the paradox that most men miss. The less available you are, the more she wants your availability. Now, I'm not saying ignore her for days or play some calculated game where you're counting hours before you respond. That's just as bad because it's dishonest, and women can smell that kind of manipulation from a mile away. What I'm saying is genuinely live your life in a way where you're not constantly accessible because you're actually doing things that matter. The Stoics believed in living with purpose and virtue. When you're living that way, strategic absence isn't a strategy. It's a natural byproduct of being a man who has his priorities straight. Secret number 2, be outcome independent. This is straight from the core of Stoic philosophy, and it's the one thing that will transform not just your texting, but your entire approach to dating and relationships. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that we should focus only on what's within our control and accept what isn't. When you text a woman, here's what you control: your words, your timing, your intentions, your behavior. Here's what you don't control: her response, her mood, her level of interest, whether she texts back at all. Most men tie their emotional state to the outcome. They send a text, and then their happiness depends on how she responds. If she replies quickly with enthusiasm, they feel great. If she's short or takes hours to respond, they feel anxious and insecure. This creates a pattern where you start modifying your behavior based on her reactions. You start overthinking every word. You start seeking validation through her responses. And ironically, this need for validation is exactly what kills attraction. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can sense when a man is texting because he genuinely wants to share something versus when he's texting because he needs her approval or attention. When you're outcome independent, you text because you have something worth saying, not because you're hoping to get a specific reaction. You might share something funny that happened, make an observation, suggest plans, but you're not attached to whether she responds in any particular way. You're not looking for her to validate you. You're simply expressing yourself authentically and then moving on with your day. This creates a completely different energy. Think about the most attractive, high-value men you know. They don't sit around worrying about whether someone likes them. They know their worth isn't determined by any single person's opinion. They put themselves out there, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, they're completely fine because their sense of self isn't on the line. This is what outcome independence looks like, and it's magnetic because it's so rare. Here's how this shows up in practical texting. Let's say you suggest meeting up for drinks Thursday night. An outcome-dependent guy will send that text and then anxiously wait for her response, maybe even following up if she doesn't answer quickly enough, trying to convince her or offering alternative plans before she's even responded to the first suggestion. An outcome-independent guy sends the text and then forgets about it. He goes about his day. He might have other plans he's working on. He genuinely doesn't mind if she says yes or no because he knows that if she's not interested, that's just information, not a reflection of his worth. And here's what's fascinating. This attitude makes her more likely to say yes because she can feel that he's not desperate or needy. The Stoics understood that suffering comes from attachment to specific outcomes. When you need things to go a certain way, you give away your power and your peace of mind. But when you can genuinely be indifferent to the outcome while still taking action, you become unshakable. You become the kind of man who's attractive not because of what he says, but because of who he is. Apply this to every text interaction. Say what you mean. Be honest. Make your intentions clear. Then let go of the need for her to respond in any particular way. This isn't about not caring. It's about caring more about your own integrity and authenticity than about controlling her response. Secret number 3, create mystery through substance. This is where most dating advice gets it completely wrong. They tell you to be mysterious by being vague, by not answering questions, by deliberately withholding information to seem interesting. That's not mystery. That's just being annoying and disingenuous. Real mystery, the kind that genuinely attracts high-quality women, comes from depth. It comes from being someone who has layers, who has interests and passions and experiences that can't be fully understood in a few text exchanges. The Stoics were deep thinkers who constantly examined life, virtue, and what it means to live well. They weren't mysterious because they were secretive. They were mysterious because they had rich inner lives and wisdom that revealed itself gradually. This is the kind of mystery that creates lasting attraction. When you text, don't lay everything out. Don't explain your entire day, your entire thought process, your entire life story. Share glimpses. Share fragments that spark curiosity. If you went on an interesting hike, you might text a photo of the view with a simple comment instead of explaining where you went, why you went, what you thought about, and what you had for lunch afterward. Here's the key. Mystery through substance means you actually have to have substance. You can't fake this. You need to be living a life that's genuinely interesting. You need to be reading books, trying new things, developing skills, having experiences, thinking about meaningful questions. When you have real depth, you don't need to manufacture mystery. It happens naturally because there's always more to discover about you. Women are attracted to men who they can't quite figure out completely, not because these men are playing games, but because there's genuine depth there. In your texts, practice saying less while meaning more. Instead of texting paragraphs explaining your thoughts on something, share a provocative question or a brief observation that invites her into a conversation. Instead of telling her about every detail of your week, mention in passing that you've been working on something interesting and see if she asks about it. The difference is subtle but powerful. You're not withholding to manipulate. You're simply not oversharing because you understand that attraction builds in the discovery process. The Stoics also valued authenticity above all else. So while you're creating mystery through substance, never lie or pretend to be someone you're not. The mystery isn't about deception. It's about revealing your authentic self gradually, allowing her to discover who you are layer by layer. This keeps things interesting far longer than any texting tactic ever could. When she feels like she's continually learning new things about you, that there's always another dimension to discover, she stays engaged, she stays curious, she wants to keep peeling back the layers. Now let's bring this all together because these three secrets work in combination. When you embrace the power of absence, you create space for attraction to build. When you practice outcome independence, you remove the desperate energy that repels women. When you create mystery through substance, you become genuinely intriguing. These aren't tricks or tactics, they're principles for becoming a more attractive version of yourself, a man who has his life together, who knows his worth, who isn't chasing validation. The Stoics taught that we should focus on character development above all else, on becoming the kind of person who naturally lives in alignment with virtue and wisdom. When you apply that to dating, it means becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts high-quality women, not through manipulation, but through genuine self-improvement. Your texting becomes better because you become better. You're not constantly available because you're busy building something meaningful. You're outcome independent because you've developed real confidence that doesn't rely on external validation. You're mysterious because you have actual depth and substance. So here's your action plan. Starting today, audit your texting habits. Are you texting too much, too often, with no real purpose? Pull back. Let there be space. Are you anxiously waiting for responses and letting her reactions determine your mood? Practice detachment. Focus on what you can control. Are your texts boring and predictable, revealing everything with no room for curiosity? Share less, but make what you share more interesting. Most importantly, get off your phone and go live a life worth texting about. Build your career, develop your hobbies, strengthen your friendships, work on your physical and mental health. These three secrets will transform your results with women, but only if you understand that they're not shortcuts. They're reflections of a deeper transformation that happens when you commit to becoming a high-value man. The Stoics knew that the path to a good life requires discipline, wisdom, and constant self-examination. Apply those same principles to your dating life, and everything changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop seeking validation and start offering value. You stop playing games and start living authentically in a way that naturally creates attraction. That's the real secret. Now go apply it.